The Canceller, a false promise against cancer. Picture the world in the early 1900s. Medicine was advancing, but the word cancer still carried a chilling sense of mystery and hopelessness. Treatments were limited, and diagnoses were often fatal, and fear gripped the public. It was during the desperate time that a curious little device made its way onto the market. A small object called the Canceller. It didn't look dangerous. In fact, it appeared harmless, worn around the neck, or carried in a pocket like a little good luck charm. It was sold with a bold claim. This simple device could protect you from cancer. The advertisements were persuasive, wrapped in a language of pseudoscience. Sellers spoke of invisible rays, protective fields, and scientific urgencies that would cancel out the disease before it could take hold. For people living in fear of an untreatable illness, the Canceller must have seemed like a miracle, a silent guardian, working around the clock to keep death at bay. But behind the promises, there was nothing. No real science, no mechanism, no hope. The Canceller was a complete fabrication, a product designed not to save lives, but to make money off of fear. Medical professionals who investigated the device found it to be nothing more than a hollow object, sometimes containing bits of metal or magnets, but offering no more protection than a stone pulled from the street. Worse still, the Canceller wasn't just harmless, it was dangerous in a far crueler way. People who trusted it delayed seeking medical care, believing they were safe. Symptoms were ignored, time was lost, and for some, the cost was their life. Eventually, the Canceller was exposed for the fraud that it was. Health authorities cracked down on such devices, and regulations for medical products grew stronger because of scandals like this. But the legacy of the Canceller is a haunting one, a reminder that when fear outpaces truth, even the simplest object can become a deadly lie. The Nitrohawk, how a miniature helicopter found its place in healthcare. At first glance, the Nitrohawk looked like something out of a science fiction novel. Developed in the late 20th century, it was a miniature helicopter originally designated for military surveillance, small enough to navigate tight spaces, but powerful enough to relay critical information from the sky. Its original mission was to spy unseen, to slip behind enemy lines and gather intelligence without risking human lives. But like many inventions born out of conflict, the Nitrohawk eventually found a surprising second life, helping save lives instead of spying on them. In the chaos of natural disasters, earthquakes, hurricanes, floods, one of the greatest challenges for emergency responders is assessing the damage quickly and locating people in urgent need of care. Traditional helicopters were too large, too expensive, and sometimes too dangerous to deploy in unstable environments. That's where the Nitrohawk came in. Its small size, lightweight frame, and advanced camera systems allowed it to fly into collapsed buildings, weaving through wreckage and searching dangerous areas that humans couldn't reach safely. It could spot trapped survivors, detect signs of life, and map hazardous zones in real time. Imagine a disaster zone where every second counts. Instead of risking a team of rescuers climbing over unstable debris, the Nighthawk could be sent in first, beaming back vital images and information. Medical teams on the ground could immediately prioritize their efforts, sending help exactly where it was needed most. In many ways, the Nitrohawk became a pair of eyes that could see where humans could not. Over time, its technology even inspired new generations of medical drones, devices that today can deliver defibrillators, emergency medications, and even blood supplies directly to remote or disaster-stricken areas. What began as a tool for war quietly transformed into the unlikely hero of the world in emergency medicine, changing how fast and efficiently we could help those and reach those in desperate need. The Nitrohawk's journey from battlefield spy to life-saving machine shows us something powerful. Sometimes, the most extraordinary medical inventions are the ones that started with a completely different purpose. The Blonsky centrifuge, a spinning solution to childbirth. In the early 1960s, a married couple named George and Charlotte Blonsky believed they had found a solution to one of humanity's oldest challenges: childbirth. As the story goes, the Blonskys were inspired by how centrifugal force, the outward pull you feel when spinning, if centrifugal force could lift heavy loads or separate substances in a lab, could it also help a mother deliver her baby with less strain? The Blonskys thought so. They set to work one of the most bizarre medical inventions ever conceived: the Blonsky centrifuge. The machine looked something like a mad scientist's lab, a large table where a pregnant woman would be strapped down, securely but gently, and then spun around at increasing speeds. The idea was that centrifugal force would push the baby downward through the birth canal, assisting labor naturally, reducing the need for strenuous pushing, and perhaps even shortening labor times significantly. The machine was patented in 1965, complete with safety straps, a padded table, a catcher's net at the base to gently catch the newborn baby when it was expelled. The Blonskys imagined a future where hospitals would offer spinning births as a less exhausting alternative, especially for women with weaker abdominal muscles or other difficulties. But the concept was imaginative. It also overlooked a few critical issues, like the extreme physical stress spinning could place on both a mother and child. The risks of trauma, disorientation, and injury were enormous. Doctors and hospitals quickly realized that dangers far outweighed the potential benefit, and the Blonsky centrifuge was never put into practice. Today, the idea of being whirled at high speed to give birth seems almost cartoonish, but it's important to see it for what it was: a well-meaning, if even misguided, attempt to make childbirth safer and easier. The Blonsky centrifuge remains a fascinating footnote in medical history, a reminder that innovation often requires not just creativity, but careful understanding of human limits. The multi-eject, giving independence back to the visually impaired. Managing a chronic illness like diabetes is a heavy burden, even under the best of circumstances. But for people who are blind or deafblind, the challenges can feel almost insurmountable. Simple tasks that most diabetics take for granted, like measuring insulin and administering the correct dose, can become a dangerous hurdle. The problem didn't go unnoticed by British engineer Robert Channon, a man whose work would quietly change the lives in a profound way. Channon, already well known for his innovations in insulin pumps, turned his attention to creating something that didn't just deliver insulin, it empowered those with visual impairments to control their health independently. His answer was the multi-eject. Unlike a standard syringe, which relies heavily on visual measurements to ensure the right dosage, the multi-eject was designed to talk to its users in a subtle way. It provided audio clicks and tactile feedback, tiny mechanical signals the user could hear and feel with every increment of insulin drawn. Each click represented a specific unit of insulin, allowing users to measure out their doses precisely without needing to see the syringe or vial. Imagine the confidence this offered someone who had been forced to rely on family members or nurses for something as personal as insulin injections. The multi-eject gave blind and deafblind diabetics back a critical piece of autonomy, a chance to manage their condition privately with dignity. It wasn't a flashy invention. There were no TV commercials or glamorous unveiling ceremonies, but for those who needed it, the multi-eject represented a quiet revolution, proof that the best medical devices aren't always about new technology, but about understanding human needs at their most basic level. In a world often overlooked challenges faced by people with disabilities, Channon's multi-eject stands with a powerful reminder: true innovation listens before it speaks and meets people exactly where they are. I do hope you found this interesting, and I would love for you to join me for the next one. Until then, be well.